Podcasting 105. Distribution.
If a tree falls in a forest and no one is around to hear it, do it make a sound? Some random bro.
Where should my podcast be? Now that you've invested your time, effort, and money into developing an interesting and captivating program that everyone is going to adore, how do you get that into the ears of potential listeners or clients? Fortunately, there are a tremendous amount of websites and apps that distribute podcasts. The hardest part, which really isn't that hard at all, is getting your podcast uploaded to a website that can provide global distribution with something known as an RSS feed. Here are just a few of the leading podcast providers that distribute our podcast: Spreaker, iHeartRadio, iTunes, Stitcher, Podbean, Player FM, BluBrry, SoundCloud, Google Play, YouTube. And there are many others, including Spotify. But Spotify is a little picky about what they air. They've got some issues over there at Spotify, you know what I'm saying? Smaller sites also collect RSS feeds and share them with the world. I was really amazed to find how many places I could find my own podcast, Radio Takeover, and some of my other ones. It showed up in these random websites. So how do you get it out there? Well, we've tried several solutions over the years, including WordPress and Blog Talk Radio. And they're not bad, but the most reliable and, more importantly, easy to use still seems to be a website called Spreaker. It sounds like speaker with an R in it, Spreaker. The upload process is stupid easy, allowing you to easily title and describe your shows. Spreaker then automatically provides those RSS feeds to most podcast distributors after you've set up accounts with them. And Spreaker will then send your podcast to iTunes and iHeartRadio, although iHeart requires an approval process. Spreaker recommends you have at least 5 shows and a professional-sounding introduction before submitting to iHeart to improve your chances of getting it on iHeart's distribution. You can sign up for a free account at www.spreaker.com and upload a certain amount of your podcast episodes to free to test the waters. So you can do a lot of this stuff for free just to check things out and see if you like it, see if podcasting's for you. So you'll need to obviously record your show and get it sounding pretty decent, as good as you can, and then write a detailed description of your show, and then have some high-res artwork or images ready. So everybody wants a nice high-resolution image to display your podcast as a thumbnail. Then, when you're ready to reach for the stars, you can easily upgrade to one of their affordable packages. So you'll need to submit your podcast to the iTunes store yourself directly. For that, it's free also, you need an active Apple ID to submit to the iTunes store. You can create one for free if you don't have one. And then this is how that goes down. So you sign in with your Apple ID. It could be the same one you use on your iPhone, iPad, or if you use iTunes over the years, if you remember what it is, forget what it is, just create a new one. It's free. Sign into iTunes Podcast Connect. We'll give you the links in the description. And then you click the iTunes Connect Add Podcast button. I think it's a plus in the top left of the iTunes Connect dashboard. They're all about just giving you icons. They're not going to tell you what it is. Just click the plus. We're not going to tell you what it does, but don't be afraid. And then you just simply paste or type your RSS feed from Spreaker or whoever else is doing your hosting into the provided text box, and then click the validate button. And then Apple goes through and checks it out, and then makes sure everything is okay. If there's any validation errors, it'll let you know. Most likely there won't be. And then you just review your artwork, description, categories, make sure that all looks copacetic. And then if everything looks good, just click the submit button. And then congratulations, your podcast is now submitted to the iTunes Store podcast directory. Now, it takes it could take up to a week for the Apple pickers to look things over to make sure everything's copacetic. If everything's good, your podcast will soon be available on the iTunes Store in whatever country you live in, and your road to fame and fortune has begun. All of your new episodes will automatically feed from Spreaker or whatever podcast host you use directly to iTunes. So that's nice. And so one and done. Set it up and you're good to go. Now, if you create a new podcast within your Spreaker account, which you can do multiple podcasts, you got to make sure you submit each individual podcast to the iTunes directory individually. They don't know to pick up your new one, so took me a while to figure that out. Where's the rest of my stuff here? Well, you got to tell iTunes you got a new podcast, dummy. So I figured all that out. Now, YouTube is owned by Google, so if you have a Gmail account, just sign into Gmail and head over to youtube.com and click sign in, use your Gmail login, and bang, you're all set. You'll have a YouTube account too. It's just one Google account for one ring for them all. that's not how that goes. But one Google account will take care of both Gmail and YouTube. Again, if you don't have one, sign up for free. And then just sign in and click Create Account once you're at YouTube, and you're good to go. Now, once your YouTube account is all set up, Spreaker should prompt you to connect to it. And once you do that, it'll give you an option every time you have a new episode. Say, where do you want to share this? I'm going to share it to YouTube, iTunes. If you're approved with iHeartRadio, you'll see a bunch of check marks along the bottom. You share it to Google+. And obviously, send it to as many of those sites as you can, as you want global domination, like world domination. So get your podcast out to as many people as you can. Now, you can go back to YouTube. Once Spreaker does its upload to YouTube, it gives you this... It's the Spreaker star or logo with a little bit of words in it, which is pretty cool because you can't upload just audio to YouTube. It has to have a video. So what they've done is they did a thumbnail for you with the Spreaker logo, and it has some information about your podcast name, and it uploads that, turns it into a video. It's like a static slide with audio underneath it. That's just how you have to do YouTube if you want to do podcast on YouTube. And again, you definitely should do that because there's a lot of people listen to podcasts through YouTube for whatever reason. And you do have the capability, once you have that YouTube account, to go back in afterwards. And then you can alter the description, make it longer, which you should. And you can upload a customized thumbnail, which you absolutely should also, because you can really do some magic in YouTube search with a better thumbnail, because YouTube shows the thumbnail, and you can put some words on the thumbnail. Not too many. Remember, it's a tiny thumbnail. It's small, so your words have to be big fonts or big type, and you can make it look really attractive. And then people will bang over there. Oh, don't forget to add your tags, too. You could add search tags to your YouTube videos, too, and you absolutely should do that because YouTube in itself is kind of a search engine, and it's part of Google. So get it out there so people can find you. Now, once you've got your Spreaker or whatever podcast host thing going on, you got your YouTube set up, you got your iTunes set up, you're approved by iHeartRadio, tell the world about your podcast, man. Once it sounds great and available globally, share it on Facebook. Create a web page on Facebook, or a Facebook page, or a website, and a group even to discuss it. Or stream your podcast live on Facebook as you're recording it for even more interest. That's video, can't do audio only, but set up a little webcam in there. Use your phone, stream live while you're recording it. Of course, if you do that, you're going to hear the mistakes too. It's no big deal. Sometimes mistakes are fun. I love mistakes. Then you can even sign up for a Twitter account and share it there too. And just make sure when people comment or leave little messages for you that you engage with them, because they'll feel special. You'll make them feel special. And the more engagement you have, the higher in search you'll appear, and the more followers you'll gain. And don't forget YouTube too. Record yourself doing your podcast with your smartphone and put that on YouTube also, so you have a video and the podcast. You might need to edit your video, and that takes more time, some better equipment, so consider that too. And then create a blog if you don't already have one. And make sure you post each and every show with a transcript or lengthy description. The longer, the better. Max it out if you can, because the more words you have, the more relevant search terms you have, the easier it is for Google to index you and people to find you. And also mention your show everywhere, as we talked about before, on business cards, on your website, on your telephone greeting, on your store windows, on the back of your car, on your T-shirts, on your underwear, on graffiti. Just tell the world. And for even more great podcast tips, we've got one more for you. It's called Podcasting 106, Tips and Tricks from Podcast Professionals. My name is Chuck Fresh for the WDN Radio Network. Thanks for listening.